The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited today, and thank you, Stanley Specs, for being here. He says, salute from, okay, I don't know what that is, but thank you for being here. And I am going to pull up my guest, Dr. Michelle Greenwell. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Vera.
Well, I am so excited about you being here, and I'm going to take a few minutes and just read a little bit about Dr. Michelle Greenwell. She has a BA in psychology, a master's in science in CAM, and she's going to talk about that, and a PhD in CIH, which is complementary and integrative health. She is the owner of Dance Debut Incorporated, for over 36 years, specializing in movement patterns to heal the body through dance and Tai Chi. She's also a Touch for Health instructor, a therapeutic touch foundation instructor, and focus in on neural reflex integration. She is an award-winning author and lyricist for healing books and card decks. Well, I am excited to have you here. I am going to give you the floor. And I want you to just kind of share a little bit about your journey, your childhood, and how you got to where you are right now and doing the magnificent work that you're doing right now.
Perfect. Thank you. So my background is in dance originally, and I danced from when I was 6 years old. I took acrobatics first, but then moved into Highland dancing. And when I did that, I did some training on a cement floor, and that led to shin splints, knee challenges, alignment issues. By the time I was 16, I couldn't compete anymore because I couldn't practice long enough to be able to really build up my technique. So I went from there to teaching, which I was always teaching in the neighborhood. All the kids got taught something. And so it was always in my background. And so I moved into teaching dance and loving working with kids and adults. And as I came through in my 20s and my 30s and had my kids, I was pocketing stress into my feet such that all of the muscles shut off in my feet and I couldn't walk anymore. And it's very hard to be a dance instructor and lead a dance studio when you can't walk across the floor. And I couldn't also speak loud enough for the students to hear me, so I needed a microphone. And it was a really hard time. And I knew there was more that I needed to know about being well and about how to really take care of the body. And obviously the dance techniques that I had been taught in was not enough. And so I started on a journey with Touch for Health first. And I was told that you have the blessings of your injuries. And I thought, the lady that told me that, I thought, she is crazy. There is no way I'm going to ever get gifts out of these injuries. And I was very wrong, because as I've come through and I lost the ability to walk, repair the body, bring everything back. And I didn't do that myself. I did work with a lovely, lovely man, Greg Webb, who we just lost here a couple of weeks ago. And Greg actually, with private sessions, was able to help me through the Touch for Health techniques. And I quickly signed up for every class I could get my hands on with him. And from there, I just kept diving deeper and deeper. How can I know more about the body? How can I help dancers be stronger in what they're doing? How can I help people who just want to move well, have the tools at their fingertips? And so I've worked with preschoolers all the way up to grandmas and grandpas. And I love working with seniors. And I've also moved into Tai Chi. I found Tai Chi taught me whole body movement, which I didn't get from the dance training that I had, just because the dance training I had was very isolated movements, just with the style I chose. And so Tai Chi really allowed me to reintegrate my whole body. And so now I take all of that information and I put it into programming that really supports people.
So what happened that you ended up with this health issue? What do you know what caused it?
It's emotion. And emotion pockets within the tissues in the body, and it's like a storybook. And then depending on what parts of your body are more important, like my feet were very important for teaching dance. So they just kept pocketing into my feet. And some people notice, that their foot cramps, and they might get the same toe cramp or their arch cramps, or maybe their arches fall. And they ignore it, or they put a Band-Aid on it. They put on some kind of a insert into their shoe, all in ways to try to bypass figuring out what the problem is. And so once you start finding out which emotions are pocketed in there, you can start to release them. And then you release the tension in the tissue so that it can start to be more pliable again.
Okay, I want to know more about what emotions was it that was causing your feet to be harmed in such a way?
Yeah, stress.
As
So,
a child?
there were pieces that did come from my childhood. I was sick a lot. I had asthma. I had pneumonia, bronchitis. Several times a year, I'd end up in the hospital. I spent a lot of time indoors because of that, because I would be allergic to going out in the grass and
Oh,
animals,
wow.
molds, pollens, that kind of stuff. And allergies also are emotions. And so you're just not processing things correctly. And so you need to just figure out how you want to bring those around so that you can let them go and move on. And so I don't have allergies now. They're all gone. And I spent a lot of time studying with the people who knew how to do that so that I would have those tools at my fingertips too.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about those remedies, some of the things that you did to remove the stress,
Mhm.
to eliminate the pain, and to get you back and to remove these allergies.
Mhm.
We got to talk about that.
Right? Because a lot of people say, "Oh, I have allergies," and then they claim them, which I did. And then when I discovered you don't have to actually claim them, I was like, "Are you kidding me? That's amazing." So there are different techniques that people use, and all of them can be valuable depending on who you're working with and how you can bring them around. But what I would suggest to people that they try is when they're feeling really stressed, because that's really what all of it is stress. And then, could be anger, could be resentment, could be fear, could be anxiety. Any of those emotions can pop. So if you take your fingertips, put them lightly on your forehead, that's emotional stress release points.
Okay. Do you do the tapping as well?
You can definitely do tapping, and you can tap with different phrases. We can do all kinds of things with tapping. So for those people that aren't familiar, you would be tapping on the end points of energy lines. And so you're
Yes.
tapping very specific points.
Yes.
When you tap them, you put energy in. Sometimes you want to have a calming energy. So holding the fingertips on the forehead is a very calming way. And sometimes you want to just hold the points. And the other thing, because I'm a dancer, I'm also a choreographer who's had to think very quickly when you've got dancers on the side in the wings ready to go out on the stage. Maybe they've been on stage and they've had a panic attack. They've run off the stage because that's happened. And then you need to have tools that you can use right away that they can use themselves to get them back out onto the stage. And so fingertips on the forehead is one that works really well. But also those tapping points you talked about from EFT, they have end points, the other end of the body, which are down in the feet. And so what I've done is transferred those points, and you can tap them out with your feet. So if you're backstage waiting to go on, you could be tapping your feet in the patterns that you need in order to calm the fear and the anxiety and allow you to go back out onto the stage.
Now, see, I just recently found out about tapping and the impact that tapping actually has. And like you said, there's certain points where you need to do it, and people need to learn what they are, even under your arm, up here. It works. It really works to help relieve stress, tension. Did a training that talked about tapping to eliminate procrastination and just a whole number of things. And so these things are things that people don't understand. Our bodies are capable of healing itself when we recognize that it can. And you have the ability to help people recognize those things. So I want to, and you actually created a little video for me to share. And I think I'm going to take a few minutes and share that so that our audience can hear a little more about what you do and how you do. And I think you might have did some demonstration. Did you do some demonstration on this? Okay, great. So I'm going to pull us down and play this so that people can see what you do.
Perfect. Hi, I'm Michelle Greenwell. I'm a tea artist. I'm a healer. And I'm a specialist in movement using dance and Tai Chi. In my previous career, I ran a dance studio and did traditional forms of dance, bringing children up through competitive performance and also in recreation. I've now taken all of that knowledge about the body, how the body functions, combined it with Tai Chi principles and whole body movement, and created programs that support people to learn and grow in the way that they want to, with the goals they want to achieve, trying to open up the body, take away pain, release stress, open up the mind, bring clarity, and of course, to bring a focus to the goals and the wishes of the person in front of me. I do this in two ways. I have group sessions, which are both online, and I also have in person, as well as just doing online or in-person one-on-one sessions. So there's the group or there's the personal. I also look at how herbs can support the body, and I have created a tea line, one that is focused on favorite flavors that people may like, and the inspirations of Cape Breton, where I live here in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, and that's part of the Cape Breton Tea Company regular series. Then I also have a Tea with Intention series, which provides the way to use intention and goal setting, along with the essences of the herbs to really lift us up and to help support us in our well-being and in our goals and our inspirations. All that I do is devoted to helping people find the way to be empowered in their self-care and to be able to walk forward with ease and grace in a wellness plan that they love. If these things are something that appeal to you, you can find me at dancedebut.com, or you can find me at capebretontea.ca. And my full list of resources you can find at https:// that's that regular piece, Linktree, tr.ee/dance debut. And I said all that because all the resources are there. There's my YouTube channel, my podcast, and my blog posts, as well as all the resources of books, cards, music, etc. that you might find valuable in your search for well-being. Thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate that you've taken advantage of the podcast I've recorded with Vera today. Thanks so much.
Is awesome. And you know what? We have a list of all the things that you offer, and I am going to share that up here, and then you're going to talk about each one of those things. And then we're going to do some exercises so that people can see some of the stuff that you do. And you know what? I remember in teaching and doing work with adults and having to help them through interviewing techniques and all this kind of stuff, and people would be really, really nervous. So I used to buy tension tamer tea.
Mm-hmm.
And I just heard in your video, you actually create a tension tamer, for lack of a better word, stress less tea as well. Can you talk about what is made, what's in that?
So with the tea, rather than looking at how can the tea fix something, what we want to do is choose the herbs that are going to support and lift us. And so instead of thinking about this herb is good for this herb is good for that, many of the herbs are good for everything. If you notice the lists on them, they're really long lists. So we lock into something and say ginger's good for digestion, or chamomile's good if you need to relax before bed. But what you're really wanting is to bring the systems in the body into balance. And so you're really looking for, how can a tea lift me up? And so when I'm doing the blends, I'm putting blends together based on the way the herbs come together, which is a little bit different than just choosing one and then just drinking that one and saying, please go here. So you're actually lifting up with all of it. And then depending on which tea blend, my Tea with Intention series, there are affirmations on the back of the package. And so if someone thinks of what their goal is, right? So instead of saying, I want to sleep better, okay, after you've slept better, what is it you'll be doing? Well, I'd really like to be able to get up early in the morning to go down to the beach, as an example, for the summertime. And you say, okay, so now you're down at the beach, what are you doing? Well, I'd really like to spend more time walking, or I want to go swimming, or whatever. And so you work yourself to what is your real goal, and then you can look at those affirmations and find out which one is resonating closest to that goal. And then you can say that affirmation, sip your tea, and connect in with the herbs that allow for that lift to happen. So a little bit different.
And people can get your tea at this Linktree Dance Debut.
You can go there. It's also capebretontea.ca. Yeah.
Okay. I don't have that link, so you may want to put that in the chat. Now, let's talk about, you even have books. This woman is phenomenal. You are phenomenal doing all this stuff. Let me ask you, so in doing the things that you do, how did you come up with all these ideas, and was it through meditation? Was it through, tell me about it. How did you, and you also mentioned that from the time you were a child, you were teaching dance. So you knew from the time you were a child that this is stuff that you wanted to do.
I was just teaching. Whatever. So the kids on the block, I'd have like one of the book series that my parents had bought for us back when you had to buy book series. And I'd open it and I'd be teaching about polar bears, or what kind of plants live here, or whatever. And so I'd always be leading in something. Yeah. Wow. I didn't realize it at the time. In my dance, I've always been about storytelling and bringing people into the joy of the experience of dancing. Not about going after the medals, not about being perfect at something, but really just how can you feel really good while you're doing something? So I had a business partner at that time, Irene Widdop, and I wrote several themed books with dance themes. And that took one was in the kitchen. So we were dancing in the kitchen. What you're showing there is the card deck that was created with Tanya Levy. Tanya is a beautiful artist, and she takes photographs of nature. She runs them through special filters. So we've got about 80 or 90 different images that come onto that card deck. Each one is related to a different part of the body. And so my background in how to heal the body took the different images and essences and aspects of that part of the body and put it into the card. And then there's an affirmation that goes with it. So that's what's coming up on there. And what that means is if somebody has a pain in their spine, then we can find a card that will correspond to that. And you can use the artwork to help alleviate the pain, but you can also use the affirmation. So if you have a goal in mind, you could pick that. You've put the Bioenergetic Essentials book up. This was created by 4 of us, part of Can Be Well, the Canadian Association of Bioenergetic Wellness. We wanted introductory self-care tools in the hands of every person. So if you go to canbewell.org, that book is for free. Right on the front page, it says ebook, and you just click on it and that book will come up. It has
this book for free?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You need to put that in the chat also.
And Can Be Well is a great resource for people who are looking for tools to work with. And there's classes that are lined up on their workshops. There's lots of events coming up that we have. But we really wanted people to be able to use these tools, individual tools, and be able to instantly change how they're functioning.
Okay, wow. That's amazing. That's awesome. That is awesome. And then we have the other one.
This is it's in the card deck. So this one is taking simple energy tools that I have used for years in my dance classes, but also with my senior classes. And it's based on the 5 elements. So they're paired in certain kinds of combinations, and you can layer different kinds of cards together. So you could do a foot exercise, and then you could do ESRs, touching the fingertips on your forehead. And then you could do an activity that could release fear and anxiety and bring it over to confidence and peace. So there's all kinds of little tools in there. It's designed for families and for educators. So there's 2 sets of cards. So you can play memory or charades. You can have kids sitting on either side so they each have a card to play with, or you can put them in different kinds of orders. You might use one card more than once. So
now where do they go to get that?
That you can find in the shop at Dance Debut.
Okay. Awesome. Oh my God. And we need to take a break. Because I could talk to you all day, but because there's so much more that we can share. But I do need to do a commercial. So let me do that, and then we come back and continue to talk about these things.
Sounds great.
All right.
Mama Knows creates high quality products that are available to be used on multiple textures of hair. Her goal is to bridge the gap to stop people from having to use multiple products because of families with multiple hair types. Her products are currently being used on men, women, children of all ethnicities. Mama Knows products are available at www.mamaknowsproducts.com. That's www.mamaknowsproducts.com. You can also find her on Instagram at Mama Knows Products because Mama knows what you need.
knows what you need. I'm telling you, these products are wonderful. They are wonderful and they smell so good. There's shampoos, conditioners, moisturizers, and growth serums. And these products are not just for any one ethnic group, it's for anybody, any group, and boys, girls, men, women, and they smell so good. You can go to mamaknowsproducts.com, mamaknowsproducts.com, and tell them you heard it on the Vera Thomas Show. Yes, Mama Knows Products. I'm telling you, they're awesome. Excellent. All right. I do have another one I need to do, and we can stay up here for that one. Let me just get it and pull it up right quick. Joy 365. It's a devotional for joy restoration. And she's looking for 365 people to be a part of this devotional so that there is a different person and devotion for each day of the year. For more information, you can contact Vanessa Blackwell at vrblackwell@gmail.com. And that's Vanessa Blackwell, vrblackwell@gmail.com. Tell her you heard it on the Vera Thomas Show and that you're interested in being one of those authors in the devotional 365 Joy Restoration devotional book. Yes. Okay. Now, back to us. Now, I'm going to pull up because I want you to kind of talk about each one of these items that's listed on your, it's like a marquee, for lack of a better word. And so you got Business Entrepreneurs Mastermind. You want to talk about that?
Sure. What I discovered through COVID is that many people now spend a lot more time at their computer, but they're also freezing themselves in positions. And what happens when you're not moving is your brain power drops. You need your shoulder and your hip seams moving in order for the brain to understand where it is in space and to function well. And that would be in decision making, creative thought patterns, working with other people. The whole process is linked to how you move. So what I've done is I've built a special program for entrepreneurs because they tend to spend the most time sitting at the computer thinking they've got to get more in. And that opportunity provides them with 8 weeks to work with me and a group of people to really hone in on some of the tools that I've talked about tonight, but to understand how they might be holding themselves back from their greatness because of the way they're frozen in their positions. And so my next mastermind begins in October.
Okay. And then you have the podcaster of Be Well.
Yeah. So like you, Vera, I'm trying to get that transformational idea across. What makes people move to that space where they make the decision to be different? Not continuing on the road that they've always done and then saying, oh, I wish I had. And so I'm interviewing people about their transformational process, but I also set up my podcast so that there is a goal at the beginning. There's a cup of tea to transform with. a lovely conversation with my guests, which Vera will be joining me in a few weeks. And then we always finish off with some kind of movement pattern. So to get people thinking about, after they've listened to the podcast and have been sitting, that how they could be moving and how they could use those movements at their desk during the day while they're driving, and just get people thinking differently about movement.
Now, you're going to have to send me some tea to be drinking.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, and then the healing speaker, lecturer, researcher. And before you even talk about that, Dr. Michelle has a Ph.D. in complementary and integrative health. And so all these things that you see listed here is through research, through study, through application. And it's not just that she's sitting here telling you stuff. This is stuff that she has become. She has a PhD in this stuff. She knows what she's talking about. All right. I just wanted to throw that out there. All right.
Perfect. And I appreciate that, because a lot of people too, if you start talking about energy or chakras, some people, even with the tapping points, they're not understanding how they work. And so I spent the last 9 years working towards that PhD, really diving in deep and studying intensely so I could really understand the tools, how they work, but also where to apply them, and then how to make every day finding that energy and vitality where you just shine every day. And that's what I really love, when people can find that aha moment in that space where they just want to live. And then, of course, we all fall out of that with some of our little habits, but then how do you pick yourself up and repeat it? And so that you can stay in that energy and vitality as much as possible.
Kudos to you. That is just so awesome. Okay. So you are a speaker, a lecturer, and a researcher, and she combines everything that she knows to empower and to embrace that knowledge so that she can pass it on.
Mm-hmm.
Pass it on. Go ahead.
So my presentations range, because they could be in the dance field, because I have presented for lots of different associations that way, as well as dance schools. But then there's also the Tai Chi background. So I present in Chinese medicine conferences, as well as Tai Chi or Qigong. And then there's the field in Canada, we call it bioenergetic wellness. Outside of Canada, it would be known as specialized kinesiology. And what we're looking at is how we can muscle monitor or use biofeedback from the body to find priorities, but also to find the best ways to work with the body. And that I also do in different kinds of conferences around the globe. So it's an exciting, and that's part of having gone to university to really work on this. I put myself into every presentation possibility I could. So I've had the privilege of doing many different kinds of things. And when you asked me before about how did I get into doing all these things, it started as storytelling, but then it also became, well, if somebody else has done that, then it should be possible for me to figure that out. And so that's the whole journey has been like that. So
that's just amazing. That's just amazing. And there's more, but instead of me pulling it up and keeping our faces away, let me just say what they are, and then you're going to talk about them. Now, you already talked about your touch of health, dance, and Tai Chi. And then I do want to talk about this therapeutic touch practitioner.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. Tell me more about that.
Therapeutic touch is providing the opportunity for us to understand how we get awareness. And typically it's by the sensation that you find in your hands. But a lot of times once you start to really listen, I'm going to say listen with your hands, you also start listening with your eyes a little bit differently, but also you might get messages. Lots of people say I have intuitive hits or intuitive thoughts. You start to really tune into those thoughts. And with therapeutic touch, we often are moving the hands just through the field, the biofield or the auric field, depending on how people are referring to that. So we're on the outside of the body and we're just sweeping. And we can sweep to sense what's going on in the field. So maybe there's some energy that's kind of all blocked up. We might notice that. And then it's very often when somebody says, oh, I've got this pain in my shoulder, and you've already sensed that there's some kind of something going on there. And then you just feather it away. And as you feather it away,
And you can do that without touching the person?
Correct. Yep. And one of the lovely things about the pandemic and having to go to online for several years is it's faster to do the sessions online.
Is that right? So you're actually, in essence, healing people or enabling them to have discomfort by doing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's so empowering. You know, you have, like, my grandson falls and bangs his head on the cement, right? First thing everybody does is a hug while grandma's going, you know, grandma's feathering off and she's making sure she's sweeping that through. And we talked about emotion before, you know, he hits his head, that emotion of I'm scared can pocket. And so by letting it release, he's not going to go, you know, the next time I run on the cement, I need to be fearful. He's just going to be, I can run. And we remove all of that. So it's just a lovely, but it's so beautiful because you can help people. You know, somebody trips and falls, somebody has an accident, somebody's anxious about trying to do something, and you can calm the situation instead of, you know, waiting for them to figure out how they're going to get past it.
And you know, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about the scripture that says, the works that I have done, you can do also.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking, you know, like these are techniques and things that Jesus probably used to heal people. He touched them, but then he simply said things like, thy faith has made you whole, you know, without necessarily touching. And so by using these techniques, you're also, it's a spiritual thing, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you look at the science that goes back 100 years, so where they were trying to map things out, the innate healing potential, so the way that the enzymes in the body function is our interaction with other people. So as soon as you and I interact with the intention of supporting each other, the innate healing potential started. And then it's what you do with it, right? Now, if you want to say, well, I can never get that done, I'm not good enough with this, I can't, well, then you stop it. But if you say, you know, like you're asking me the questions, how did you do that, right? And the energy just keeps building. And the healing potential between us is there because we're both there to support each other. And it's a lovely communication to have with people, especially if you're out and about and somebody does hurt themselves, then being able to say, I'm here, how can I support you? And it might be as simple as holding a hand or sweeping, you know, somebody bangs their arm, being able to sweep the hand off. Or a good one is catching the fingers in the car door, or burning, you know, and you burn your hand on the oven or something like that. And to be able to sweep that off and remove
without
it.
touching it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You know,
Dr. Michelle, let me say this. You are a beautiful soul. You are a beautiful soul. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Okay. Wow, this is awesome. Now, before we got to talk about the dance and some movements here.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about these kinds of movements. I love that. I just
feels
love,
nice, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Audience, try this. Try this. I mean, it really does. It's like, it feels good to do that. It really, I'm not just saying that. It really does. It feels good. Okay. All right. Let me stop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
So,
next.
So if we were looking at the audience at the moment, they're listening and they're thinking, well, how can I be energizing? One of the ways that is really easy, you can do it in bed in the morning, you can do it at night trying to go to sleep, is what's called Cook's hookups. Wayne Cook devised this little technique. There's a variation on it, so I'm going to give the easiest variation. And so you're just going to cross your right leg over your left. Just take
Okay,
the
now
ankle.
I'm gonna do this while you're talking about it.
So you're just
So,
crossing the ankles over.
oh,
And then
just
you're
the ankles.
just the ankles, just
Okay.
nice and easy, cross them over. And then you can
Okay.
cross the hands over and you can link the fingers together.
Okay.
And you can just drop them into your lap. And for those people listening that can't actually see us, that might not be helpful. So you could just take one hand, cross it over the chest, then cross the other one over. Your fingertips would end up touching on the opposite shoulder, just by the clavicle, just by the bone. And you just hold the hands across. And that's a Cook's hookup. So that creates a figure 8 pattern in the body. And our tissue is designed in figure 8s. And so when we start linking with the figure 8, that's where movement starts to really happen. And then we can start to make changes where tension is holding. So you can just hang out here. So while people are listening to a podcast or they're in a meeting, to be able to sit in that position, very easy to sit that way. You can be listening intently. You could write a note if you needed to, but you can actually just be really engaging the energy. The second part is you take your feet and just put them side by side.
Okay.
And then you put your fingertips together. And so the right and the left hand go together, fingertips together, and you put it down in front of your belly button. And then you just hang out. And that's part 2. So we get that figure 8 pattern running. And then what we do with this is we get all of the systems inside, all the organ systems connected. And we've just given a reboot. It's lovely first thing in the morning. If you kind of lie in bed and you think about what kind of day do you want? What is the quality of the day? Sometimes when I was doing choreography, it would be, I would need to be really creative today. I want to have the storytelling options ready, and I'd build that all up. And then when I moved to part 2, I'd come down to practical. So it would be my favorite things, making breakfast and lunch for the kids. Not my favorite. So they'd say, I don't want that. I'm not hungry. I'm not going to eat breakfast before I go out the door. So I would in my head go, okay, here's what I'm going to make for breakfast. And in the fridge, here's things I can pack for lunch. And I'd walk myself through it so that it would be an automatic activity for me while I was having a conversation with the kids, instead of the argument with the kids while you're trying to find something. And then everybody just ends up agitated. But it was a great way for me to really lock in and bring it together. And you can repeat those 2 same poses at bedtime. How did my day go? For those people that like to do gratitude at the end of the day, then they could talk about the things they're really thankful for. And then that part 2, the second position, is thinking about the ways that they can acknowledge what they did that day and bring some praise back, because usually we're the last ones to get it, right? Well, easy to criticize, but then come back and say, I'm really proud of myself for the way I did this today, and just bring that back in. And now I offer to myself a really good night's sleep and then let go.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. And now, okay, so those are some movements that we can do. And actually, I'm going to be honest with you. I was having like some discomfort in my ankle. I don't know what but the pain is gone.
Awesome.
The pain is, oh my God. Okay, so the pain is gone just from that.
And see, it's empowering to know that the pain is not permanent.
Yes.
And that it's not fixable. And, sometimes, like you and I were talking about knees, having pain in the knees, when you realize that sometimes it's an emotion, it's not really that there's a problem, like a structural problem. There could be. But
there is.
Most of the time, it's emotion. Yeah, and that's when we have our better days and our not so good days. But that also is related to emotion and how balanced we are. Wow. And when we're in balance, yes, you might have a little bit of problems because the structure isn't quite there, but you'll have a lot less problem because the emotion is no longer there.
That is amazing, because I have like bone on bone
Yeah.
arthritis, and so
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, this is great. This is great. All right, now let's talk about some of the other movements that a person can do while sitting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's going to help relieve some stuff, or even cause energy to rise, or whatever. It's
Okay.
on you.
Okay. So see how you're sitting at the moment
Right.
and notice if the vertebrae are kind of stacked on top of each other. That's how most people are. Okay.
Hmm.
And then I just want you to turn your head one direction and notice what it feels like.
Okay.
The twinge that's in the back. Okay.
Yeah, I
That's
feel
what I
it.
was feeling on the left. Okay. And then if you turn to the other side, see what
Yeah,
it feels like. And you may notice the two sides are not the same.
they're
One has,
not.
right? And your range of motion may not be the same. Okay. And that's a way of noticing, but that's telling you how much tension is in the body at the moment. Your vagus nerve is passing through from the neck, goes up behind the ear. There's some tension in there that's going to be holding on. So what I'm going to get you to do is you could do same hand as ear, or you can go across opposite, and you just unroll the ear from the top to the bottom. And we do it 3 times. So you unroll.
What does that do?
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show
Okay.
you what it's going to do. But if you take a
Well,
note,
I'm losing my headset. Wait a minute. Okay.
okay,
All
if you
right.
take notice of what time it is, it can actually bring your body clock into alignment. Some people have their body clock shift. If you do shift work and things, that can very often do it. And then if you change to the other ear and just rub it 3 times again, it's like you did on the first ear. This can help you play on the beat of the music or dance on the beat for those people that race when they're nervous. This can be very helpful. This
Oh,
can take
wow.
background noise. So sometimes you're listening to people, but you can't hear them because the background noise is too much. It'll take that and diffuse it and pull it back. And then this is inspiring all the parts of the body. So we
Oh,
get
my.
like an overhaul for everything. So
Oh,
now
my.
that you've done that, you might notice the ears have heated up. Maybe they've gone a little bit red. That's telling you we've got the
Well, mine aren't red.
yours are hidden. Okay, so now if you turn your head and see what it feels like, see if
All
that
right.
range of motion has changed.
Yeah. Yeah. This is amazing. Listen, audience, we're giving you techniques of things that you can do for yourself when you're feeling stressed out, or when you're feeling out of balance. These are things that can help you. The ears, the tapping. We've talked about some major things, little things that may keep you from going to the doctor. This is great. Okay. All right.
And
All
that's an important piece, because if you've removed the emotional impact that's going on in the tissue, then when you get to the doctor, you're looking more at structure. But when you go and you have everything piled in there, and your story and your trauma and all the pieces, they have to try to pull that all apart to find out what is really going on. That takes
Yeah.
time and
Yeah.
tests. But if you can eliminate the emotional impacts and you can calm the system down, and you can actually really hone in on what is going to be the priority problem, that speeds up how fast you're going to be able to get the care that you need. Yeah.
Wow. This has been amazing. This has been great. All right. Now, there were a couple other things. We talked about the touch. We talked about the tea. We talked a little bit about the movements. You have some other movements that you can share?
I would love to share one, because everybody sits right onto their chair. First of all, I always sit without a back on my chair.
Oh,
So a lot of
really?
people will lean back into their chair and they'll give up all their muscle tone, right? They give it back up to the chair. But if you sit up on your own, you're constantly working and balancing all the tissue constantly. And then now that we've rubbed those ears, if you think about what does the spine feel like, before I said it kind of probably feels like you're kind of stacked on top, but now you probably feel lifted, and there's space between the vertebra and maybe
Wow.
space between the ribs and the pelvis, which often gets compacted. Yeah. So that space is what you need for each of the bones to vibrate correctly. And when they vibrate correctly, that's where your wellness is. When they're all jammed together, they can't vibrate. And that's when the energy and vitality drops. So we've got this lift, but now you've been sitting.
Can you tell I feel a little lifted?
So now you've been sitting for a while. So what I suggest is you roll around on your chair like a clock. So if you lean forward, that'd be your 12 o'clock. Then go around to the right to your 3 o'clock. Then sink back into your 9 o'clock, or sorry, 6 o'clock, and then finish over at the 9. And as you come forward, you're just going to repeat that. And you'll notice how your lower back softens as you go around.
Wow.
And so usually we do this with the feet, and this is for stability. And we could do it standing. But what I find is when you do it seated, and if your feet are engaged doing it as well. Sometimes I focus on the feet, but right now I'm focusing on how the pelvis is sitting on the chair. You'll notice as you come around how things are starting to soften and let go. And this again is really easy to do at the desk, right? You're thinking about a project, you're working on something, and you're thinking, and you go, okay, for this thoughts, I'm just going to roll for a couple minutes.
Wow.
And then stability comes in. Now, stability can set you up reflex-wise. It's neuro-reflex integration. Your body's connecting to your brain. It's having a conversation, and you actually will be able to think clearer, be able to make better decisions, make decisions based on openness instead of on the fear factor, which is I got to make a decision. But let that go, right? And just So now if you just feel, what does it feel like to sit there? You might feel buzzing in your feet. So that lightness, so that's the chi flowing. Circulation is working, lymphatic fluid is flowing. That's known as the chi. And the chi, you might be able to feel it in your legs. You might feel it in your back. You might feel it on the pelvis because the pelvis is used to sitting and being compacted, but now it's a little bit lighter.
Wow. And you know what? I need to pause for a minute. First, I do hope that you guys like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And also, I need your help. So I'm asking for donations to help support what I'm doing so I can bring more shows like this and bring more guests like Dr. Michelle. I mean, she has given us some nuggets, some positive things that we can do for ourselves to make ourselves feel better. And I must say that I do feel better doing some of the stuff that she had me do right here during the course of this show. And so support me by going to Cash App, $ and still great, PayPal at Vera Thomas Show 1117 at gmail.com, or Venmo at VT 1117. I know those are separate, different ones, but Cash App and still $ and still great, Venmo at VT 1117. I need your support. So please help support the work that I'm doing, because this is, I mean, time is worth, it's valuable. Time is valuable. So please support me. And I do want to announce that tomorrow is it's so hard for me to say this word, Potapalooza. Potapalooza is tomorrow, all day. I am a featured podcaster. Now, this is where authors, coaches, speakers, trainers, entrepreneurs who want to get on stages, who want to get on podcasts. This is probably one of the largest podcast platforms where there's podcasters from all over who's looking for guests. And this is where you can come tomorrow, starting at 11 Eastern Standard Time, 8 Pacific Time, and it's all day. And guess what? It's only $5. Yes, only $5. So sign up, and I'm going to put the link. I'm actually going to put the link in the chat so that you can just go right ahead and click on the link and register right now. You can do that right now. So let me just put it in the chat so that you can register right now for Potapalooza. That is quite a mouthful. Potapalooza. And I have here Fuchina. Thank you for being here. She says, good evening, ladies. Good evening, queens. I don't know how much of this you caught, but she has given some valuable information to help with stress, to help with alignment, to help. And, you know, with Fuchina coming on, and I know that some of the stuff that we've talked about could be very beneficial to her. And so let's see, she's saying something else. What did I miss? I'm getting ready to show you. And Darlene, she says, great information, ladies. I'm telling you, great information. Okay, so Fuchina, she is getting ready to do something that I know will be of benefit to you. So why don't you, let's see, the one I think that, okay, the ears. Let's do the ear thing. And Fuchina, I want you to do this with us, okay? So go ahead, Dr. Michelle.
All right. So you're turning your head to notice what it feels like first. So you have an idea where the stress level's at. And then you're going to rub the ear, same hand or opposite hand, from the top to the bottom 3 times. You just kind of unroll it first, a little bit deeper on the second, a little bit deeper on the third. And then you repeat it on the other ear. And your ear's going to heat up. And if you go back to the recording, you can get all the background of what goes with that. But for right now, what you want to know is, how does that neck feel after you've rubbed the ear? And what we didn't talk about in the last part was, when you turn your head the first time, it's an isolated movement because that's what the body is ready to do. But now you'll notice when you turn your head, you'll notice that right down from your waist, the whole spine wants to turn with the head. And that's integrative movement. So that, you know, you've made a huge difference on how the body's functioning.
That is amazing. That's just one thing that she showed during the course of this. Can you believe it's almost, we've only got 2 minutes left. Can you believe
I know. It goes quick.
Oh my goodness, it was. Fuchina, yes, please catch the replay. Audience, and she says that was a nice exercise. Yes, you could feel it, huh? You could feel it, right? Yes, okay. Well, catch the replay because she gave a lot of great tips on helping to relieve some of the stress and some of the tensions that our body feels. And a lot of our pain and our health conditions are based on locked in, bound up stress in our bodies. And she says, yes. So she's given some great techniques. And if you want more information, you can contact her. Let me put your information back on. And she also does dance. This lady is awesome. She's an awesome person. I'm so glad you were my guest today. And I am going to give you the floor. We've only got, I've only got a couple seconds, but I'm going to give you just a few minutes to share some final thoughts with our audience. And then I really appreciate you being here. And after she's finished, I just want to say to my audience, have a great week. And I will see you on Thursday.
So Vera, thank you so much for having me. I want to point out to people that sometimes what we think is real isn't always real. And so we have the opportunity to change what is happening for us. And when the emotions pocket within the body, we can stop ourselves from doing a lot of things. And we think it's for forever, and we think it's permanent, and it may not be. And sometimes we just feed ourselves lines because we were told that. And so I want to say that maybe you want to look at something a little bit different. My tools are practical. So if it's Tai Chi or dance, they're very concrete, movement based, but also interactive art. So the 2 decks that we talked about today, they can help in amazing ways. There are videos available on my YouTube channel, and that'll give you an introduction. And there's always online classes. There's great ways to connect. And I love working in groups because that brings everybody's goals together and helps everyone to achieve goals they might not even been thinking about or even would have put on their list. And so I just want to share with you that you have the opportunity to support yourself and to support those around you. You just need to know what the tools are. And I'm happy to share. And Vera, thank you so much because you're doing an awesome job getting the message out for people to know how they can be empowered. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And if you will hold on as we close out, I would appreciate it. So God bless you all, and we'll see you on
The Vera and Tommy Show. 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 Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk